Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a long, hard look at digital transformation in the pharmaceutical world, what's often labeled Pharma 4.0. And if you follow the press, you see these dazzling headlines: AI discovering new drug candidates, automated robotic manufacturing. It all sounds like a pure technology story.
But the thing is, what we pulled from the research makes it absolutely clear that if you focus only on the technology, you will fail. The consensus across all our source material is that digital success in this industry is primarily and critically about organizational change management, OCM.
And that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to extract those non-negotiable success factors for adopting Pharma 4.0, which means we're kind of ignoring the shiny new tech for a minute and tackling the really hard stuff.
The human stuff.
The human, cultural, and structural elements that either allow these transformations to work or, well, cause them to completely collapse.
And the challenge here is all about context. The pharmaceutical industry is inherently conservative. I mean, it has to be.
With all the regulation, right?
Exactly. The stringent, high-stakes regulation, the need for patient safety. But to embrace this digital shift, they have to cultivate a completely new culture of quality. And that means moving away from, paper-based sign-offs and siloed decisions and moving toward continuous learning, collaboration, and purely data-driven outcomes.
It sounds like a complete rewiring of their DNA.
That's a great way to put it.
It really is. It's a massive undertaking. So we've organized our exploration of the sources to sort of follow that journey. We're starting from the top executive leadership and going all the way down to the grassroots, looking at training and managing resistance.
Okay, so let's unpack this with leadership. We saw time and again in the research that senior executive sponsorship is the most critical success factor. Why does it hinge so heavily on the C-suite and not, say, the IT department?
Well, because digital transformation is neither cheap nor is it quick. It requires a sustained commitment over several years.
A huge investment, massive resource reallocation, and fundamental organizational restructuring. The truth is, without strong, visible sponsorship from the CEO, the board, the CTO, these programs will just be starved of resources.
Or killed off at the first sign of trouble.
Exactly, the moment the first quarter dips.
And the pressure to move fast is only accelerating. We saw some predictions about the financial investment here that are just staggering.
Oh, they are. The industry is facing intense pressure to innovate faster and manage these ballooning costs. Researchers predict that pharma companies will spend a monumental $4.5 billion on digital transformation by 2030.
$4.5 billion.
That kind of investment, it just can't be initiated by a mid-level manager. It requires the C-suite to articulate a clear, compelling vision that connects the tech directly to the business strategy.
And that top-down direction seems to require a specialist at the helm. We were expecting the CTO to lead this, but our sources kept pointing to the rise of the Chief Digital Officer, the CDO. Why that role specifically?
The CDO is the orchestrator. They build and operate the digital initiatives. They manage the absolutely huge volume of data you get from clinical trials and manufacturing. And crucially, they specialize in navigating those complex regulatory requirements.
So they're the bridge between the tech world and the compliance world.
Precisely.
So what does a successful digital leader look like? Our sources break down a set of attributes that, frankly, sounds like a superhero origin story.
It's a demanding role, for sure. First, they have to be a visionary, so focused and encouraging. Second, they have to be inspirational, trustworthy, motivational, enthusiastic, all the things you need to change minds.
Okay.
Third, under innovation, they have to be anticipatory, digitally savvy, and this is the radical part for pharma, a risk taker.
A risk taker.
That's right. And finally, they have to be skilled at absorbing uncertainty.
Oh.
So being agile, communicative, and a really powerful internal lobbyist.
That risk taker attribute really stands out in an industry that's literally built on risk aversion. How profound is that cultural shift?
Oh, it's massive. For decades, failure has been synonymous with, a regulatory problem or patient harm. Now, leaders are being asked to foster a culture that actually encourages experimentation and pilot projects. It accepts that some digital ideas will fail.
And that's okay.
That it's okay. And to make that happen, leaders need governance structures like steering committees and transformation offices that consistently support and fund these high-risk, high-reward projects.
So once that vision is locked in at the top, the next major hurdle is engaging this whole ecosystem. And this isn't just about employees, is it?
No, not at all. Stakeholder identification is key because you're breaking down so many walls. Internally, you have R&D, quality assurance, manufacturing, regulatory affairs.
And externally.
Externally, you've got regulators, patients, healthcare providers, investors, and you have to understand that each of them has different priorities. QA wants compliance, R&D wants speed. You have to synthesize those needs.
So when we drill down into the organization itself, we have managers and then the operators actually running the lines. What do successful companies focus on to engage those groups?
For management, the focus is all transparency, regular communication, clear benefits, and feedback loops, so their concerns go right back up to the top. For the operators on the floor, engagement is all about addressing practical fears. Digital tech changes their daily work, and you have to proactively tackle their concerns about job security.
Right, about routines they've maybe followed for years.
For decades in some cases.
And this engagement brings us to a key finding from the research: the need to change the operating model itself. What kind of operational shifts are we talking about?
Successful companies are moving away from those traditional hierarchical structures where you have one silo for R&D, one for manufacturing.
That's classic corporate jargon. Help us unpack that. What does that actually look like on a factory floor?
Okay, think of it this way. Instead of separate departments for quality checking, for the production line, and for regulatory submission.
All working in their own little worlds.
Exactly. A product-oriented model creates one high-performing, autonomous, cross-functional team. And that team is responsible for a specific drug or a platform, from R&D all the way to the patient. It just empowers them to make faster decisions.
But I imagine to make that work, leadership has to be totally aligned on reallocating the resources to those teams.
Absolutely critical.
Shifting to those models sounds efficient, but I can see how it would cause so much disruption. And that kind of change naturally breeds resistance. What does that resistance actually look like?
Oh, it's profound. It stems from cultural inertia. I've always done it this way. There's skepticism, fear of more work, and the very real fear of job loss from automation. But the sources really stress something important. Resistance is often less about the change itself, more about how it's managed.
So if it's just dictated from the top down without any involvement?
It will fail, almost guaranteed.
So how do effective strategies turn those skeptics around?
The primary technique is involvement and engagement. You pull the skeptics, who are often your most experienced people, into the planning process early. And they often raise completely valid concerns that the planners missed. And if you address those concerns, you can convert an opponent into a really strong supporter.
And one technique mentioned in the sources for making that involvement truly empathetic was design thinking.
Yes, exactly. With design thinking, you don't build the tech and then force people to adapt. You start with empathy. You investigate the technician's actual pain points and design the AI as a solution for them.
So you frame it as a collaborative tool.
You frame it as a tool, not a replacement. Something that enhances their ability to focus on high-impact tasks, like complex research, but freeing them from the repetitive stuff.
It becomes an assistant, not a competitor.
Precisely. And beyond that, you need quick, tangible wins. You need to provide early, visible evidence of success.
Like what?
Like showing that digitalization reduced a timeline by 20%, or that AI automated a QC process, making it faster and more precise. Those early victories build confidence.
And I'm guessing recognition plays a part.
A huge part. Companies need formal incentive programs, maybe a digital innovation award, tied directly to performance management to reward those new behaviors.
Okay, so moving from managing resistance to managing the skills gap, how do companies address the profound lack of digital readiness? Our sources said current training is not great.
Not great is an understatement. The problem is that traditional training is often outdated and uses the least effective methods. It's seen by staff as just a compliance checklist, a box to tick.
So they don't get the why.
They don't understand the why behind the new process, which is disastrous when you're dealing with these complex regulated operations.
And the data on digital readiness is pretty alarming. Our source material had a really startling metric on this.
It did. The data highlights that nearly half, 48.2% of health professionals currently have inadequate digital literacy.
Wow, so almost 1 in 2 employees.
Almost 1 in 2. They lack the foundational knowledge just to participate effectively in these initiatives, let alone run the new systems.
I mean, that number tells you immediately why the resistance is so high. If you don't know the basics, the new systems must feel incredibly intimidating.
Absolutely. And the solution isn't one-off seminars. It's establishing robust, ongoing digital literacy programs for all employees. And the training has to be role-specific, using adult learning principles, so self-directed, problem-based, and highly active.
This sounds like a problem that technology itself is uniquely positioned to solve. If the training is outdated, why not use cutting-edge tech to deliver it?
That's exactly where the industry is moving. The cutting edge here is virtual reality, or VR, and augmented reality training. Because the stakes of procedural errors in pharma are so high, VR offers significant accuracy improvement. It can reduce errors by as much as 40%.
40%, that's massive, not just for patient safety, but for cutting down on waste and regulatory headaches.
It translates directly into massive financial and safety benefits, which is why the market for pharma AR and VR is just exploding. It was valued at around $477 million in 2018. It's estimated to hit $4.6 billion by 2025 in North America alone.
So the investment is clearly there.
The investment is absolutely there.
What else does a comprehensive training strategy need beyond the exciting VR stuff?
It needs courses on digital strategy, training on dynamic content, and detailed instruction on applying regulatory codes to digital materials. And it should be broken down into manageable, interactive modules. And, that's crucial, it has to be backed by ongoing expert support, like an instant messaging platform so people can get answers right away.
Okay, finally, let's look at the structure that has to sustain all this change. This can't be a temporary project. It has to become the new normal. What frameworks are needed?
You need dedicated permanent structures that are designed to bypass the traditional bottlenecks. And the most important one is the Digital Center of Excellence, or COE. This is a centralized hub that provides resources, expertise, and best practices, drawing specialists from IT, operations, quality, and regulatory.
So it's not just a physical space, it's the engine room for these new capabilities.
Exactly. I mean, take Roche. They built a massive 200,000 square foot COE in India dedicated to AI, data analytics, and machine learning. A COE like that emphasizes four pillars: innovate, empower, connect, and share.
And that empower piece, what does that mean in this context?
It means giving frontline scientists and engineers permission and tools like data analytics platforms that they just couldn't access easily under the old rigid structure.
And to make sure that the COE's work actually lands across the business, I assume you need cross-functional integration.
Correct. You need formalized structures like matrix organizations or integrated project teams. These are essential to truly break down those silos and make sure every digital initiative is aligned with the overall business objectives.
This has been a fascinating journey through the sources, and the narrative is so clear. Successful Pharma 4.0 depends on integrating people, process, and technology. And the technology, it seems, is the easy part. The people and the culture are the hard part.
That's it. It absolutely requires investment in comprehensive OCM capabilities to sustain momentum over these multi-year transformations. The companies that are succeeding, your Roche's, Novartis's, Pfizer's, they're all focusing on AI and big data, but they started by changing their culture first.
They realized you can't get to operational excellence or better patient outcomes without fixing the culture first. The
Wow.
human element is the ultimate unlock. So, as we wrap up, we've discussed this need to establish a new culture of quality that embraces continuous learning and high-stakes risk-taking. But given the pharmaceutical industry's core mission of patient safety and its stringent regulatory environment, here's the final question for you to mull over. How do organizations maintain that essential quality oversight and stringent regulatory compliance while simultaneously championing the speed, experimentation, and high-stakes risk inherent in digital innovation?